Hi, this is John Barnes, and you're listening to Kop On.
Welcome to Kop On Podcast, you crispy and smoky chicken chipotle panini with hummus on the side. My name's Owen. I'm utterly delighted to be joined by Nigel and to be joined by a special guest for the first time. Not that Nigel, hang on, I'm going to start that again. By a very special guest, Nigel, and another very special guest for the very first time, and that's Dan Clubbe from Redmen TV. Dan, welcome to Kop On Podcast. Your first time on here. I'm absolutely delighted that you've made it, because you've been in my ears as a podcast lover all season and before, but doing loads of stuff. You're a hard-working man, Dan. How are you today?
I'm okay, thanks. First off, thanks for having me on. Absolute pleasure and a privilege to be here. I can only apologise for me being in your ears all season long. I can profusely apologise for that. But no, I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the offer, and I appreciate the hard working elements of it. Because if you didn't say it, I was about to. Because as is often joked about around these parlance, I am the hardest working man in football media, and I will say it with chest at this point because. Yeah, it's non-stop. It really is non-stop, but it's an absolute joy. And thanks again for having me.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm going to open with a question, a couple of questions actually from our friend Douglas from the Dugout Football channel on YouTube. Everyone should check out him, and also from the Totally Premier League podcast. But yeah, Doug asks one question that splits into two at the end. So he's asking, what's your favourite moment of the season, both at being at the game and in the podcasting world?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a difficult question, especially in terms of being at the game, because what a season it's been, really, and it's been just a joy to watch this Liverpool side. I really enjoyed, and it's not a game that will sort of live long in many people's memories, I can't imagine, but the Aston Villa game from pre-Christmas, because we were a very, very good side at that point. That was obvious, and everyone knew what we were all about, and it looked as though we were, at worst, in and around the title conversation. But it was another one of those games whereby you came away from it thinking, do you know what? We are really the real deal. Like, we are absolutely a top side who looks capable of going all the way this year, certainly domestically. So that is probably one. And I remember it's vivid in my mind because there's a lot of conversations about Andy Robertson at the time and whether he was the left back for the season or the left back for Liverpool at all at the time. And he came out in the week and said, sort of write me off at your peril. And he was excellent in that game. And it really was a performance of that nature. Mo Salah did his sitting on the hoarding celebration, all that sort of stuff. It just felt like a real underrated and sort of understated moment whereby we kind of announced ourselves, Aston Villa, a proper team as well. We kind of went, oh, don't worry about us. We've got this a little bit. So, yeah, probably that game. But again, there's many more. Spurs is the one that everyone will always talk about, obviously. But, yeah, there's been many as the season's gone on. And in terms of the podcast, in terms of work, my word, what a season it's been. I've been absolutely, privileged to speak to many, many people. But I don't think life will ever sort of peak like it did, 10 days ago now, when I was stood on the stage with the Dalglish family singing You Never Walk Alone. Like, I don't think it gets any better than that, really. And that's not necessarily podcasting. That just comes with the territory of my job. But honestly, for the rest of time, whenever anybody asks me where life reached its ultimate level, it might well have been in that 5-10 minute spell, because it was just surreal. And again, I've done many, many great things this season. I interviewed Billy Hogan recently, obviously Liverpool's CEO. That's quite a unique and quite an interesting thing, if you like. Spoken to some great people in and out of, the commentators, experts. Julian Laurent, the French football expert, recently, really enjoyed speaking to him. Spoke to Momo Sissoko this season. Like, honestly, the list is endless. But yeah, on stage with Dalglish, I don't think you can top that.
That's amazing. Speaking of French football, right? And speaking of the fact that you interview people associated with Liverpool all the time, I wonder, this is a Kop On exclusive, because I work in football here in France, right? Okay, I live in France and I teach English, and some of my students are involved in football very heavily, and I have on extremely good authority, and I can't say from who, that Bradley Barcola is keeping his options open this summer. Liverpool are looking for a forward, possibly, as well as Wirtz, and he's not been in any conversation, of course, but if you know any scouts, if you've been interviewing any scouts, if you got Billy Hogan's WhatsApp, then send him a little message that you heard on Kop On podcast. Bradley Barkala is available, because he's absolutely electric. And I'm just here in France, in my little town outside Paris, next to the forest, with this bombshell of information, and I've got no way to get it out there other than through Kop On podcast. And I just imagine Barkala. He's a hell of a player. But anyway, back to asking the questions. Nigel, I mean, you've been following Redmen TV, I imagine, like I have for many a year. We're going to concentrate on just positives all the way through for this summer, because we're on a positive thing. What's the thing you love about Redmen TV, Nigel?
The passion. That's it. The lads have great passion, and when they're been watching games, whether they're interviewing people, you're always going to get, the 100% passion, which is everything. Just to go back to your other question there for a minute about moments of the season. Well, I was at the Bournemouth game in September, and we scored 3 excellent goals that day. They actually finished, I think, 1st, 2nd and 4th in the goal of the month in September. 2 from Diaz, and that's absolute screamer from Darren Núñez. Other than that, moments of the season, I think we did a fairly in-depth review on it on here on, was the the Brighton game. I remember talking about it with you, about Mo turning Estupiñán around. So when Estupiñán started off trying to mark Mo, his number was facing the Kop, and by the end of it, his number was facing the Anfield Road end. Mo was after turning him around twice and stuck the ball in the top corner for the winner. It's just come back to little small moments in the season, and that a comeback win against a decent Brighton side. They're a good side. They went ahead with a great goal against us that day, and we came back and scored 2 goals in a couple of minutes. That's definitely an abiding memory.
Absolutely terrific answer. Absolutely. I mean, for me, at a personal level, going to the game, I rarely get to go and see the Reds, but this season I've actually gone to see them twice. Oddly, I had a ticket for Real Madrid at Anfield. Gosh, it's not what, and all that stuff. So I was at Anfield for Liverpool versus Real Madrid, unforgettable. And I was also at the Parc des Princes as pretending not to be a Liverpool fan, surrounded by these PSG ultras, and we won 1-0, of course, in one of the greatest robberies since the great train robbery of 1965.
The greatest goalkeeper performance I've ever seen that game.
Absolutely terrific, wasn't it? But anyway, Dan, we're champions. Forget the Champions League. They can have it. PSG can have it. We'll loan it out to them. We've got 6 of them. They've got their first one. Good luck to them. And the league, and the Champions League next season, and all of the cups, quadruple. Let's dream of them all. But Florian Wirtz, isn't it? That's the pronunciation. Florian Wirtz. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
Well, without meaning to sort of exaggerate, in around the 10 mark, I would say. Honestly, it's such a statement signing this from Liverpool on the back of winning the Premier League. It's remarkable, and honestly, I anticipated quite a busy summer, and I felt like, given the lack of business, obviously it was only Chiesa that arrived last summer, didn't do anything at all in January. We've kept our powder dry for some time, really, now when it comes to transfers. It feels like it's been quite a long time since we went nuclear, if you like, in the market. We've done smart business, we've done shrewd business, but we haven't done anything where everybody in world football sits up and goes, wow, look at Liverpool. So I was anticipating something big and exciting. But to get Frimpong over the line, obviously £30 million, we get 10 million back for Trent as well. So essentially we paid 20 million for Frimpong. That's outstanding. That is smart, shrewd. That's very Liverpool-like business. But then to follow that up with a British transfer record, we don't know at time of recording exactly what the fee will end up being, but upwards of £100 million worth for Florian Wirtz. That is remarkable. And I've liked the player and had more than one eye on the player for quite some time now. This really, when he first came across sort of my desk, if you like, and I first sort of noticed how good he wasn't too far removed from having that ACL injury. So I was like, okay, you'd be wise just to take a watching brief on him for a period of time and see how he recovers and see what he comes back like. And he's come back like a lad that's won the Bundesliga Player of the Year twice, and obviously was a huge reason why Bayer Leverkusen won the Bundesliga, and of course in that unbeaten season under Xabi Alonso. So yeah, he's just a phenomenal talent. He's got everything, really. He does the dirty work. I think a lot of people are looking at his creativity and how good he is in tight spaces and that invention that he clearly has. He's clearly a genius and a creative one at that. But people are going, but we'll lose and we'll miss Dom Szoboszlai's work rate and his energy. Well, Florian Wirtz might not quite be at the same level, but he'll still put a shift in for you. He can still play as part of a tactical system. He'll still press. Like anyone who watched Germany last night against Holland will see that. He's got the work rate, he's got the work ethic and the energy and the desire. So we're not losing too much away from Szoboszlai. We're just adding another level of creativity and genius again. So, yeah, honestly, I am so thrilled and excited by it. Not just because of the player, and the player is a wonderful one and world class in my eyes, but it's the fact that we aren't resting on our laurels. And Liverpool haven't gone, well, that was good, wasn't it? We won the Premier League. Let's just sit back and take stock and see what happens in the window. We've gone, no, foot to the floor. We can get better. We can improve. We want to go and win the Champions League. We want to defend the title. Like, what a time to do it that is. So honestly, it's remarkable. It's unexpected, but it's so welcome.
And where's he going to play for you, Dan?
For me, it is the 10. I mentioned Szoboszlai there, and I know he does stuff from the left. I think we'll wait and see what happens with Diaz. He might become an option out there, but I am a big Cody Gakpo admirer, so I don't think we need to do anything necessarily there. I think one of the upgradable positions in this Liverpool side is actually the 10, and Arne Slot pointed out, I want to say sort of October, that one thing Szoboszlai needs to do more of is output. He needs more goals, more assists. Well, therefore, go and sign somebody who brings that to the party straight away. Plug and play, Florian Wirtz. And again, you're not going to miss and you're not going to lose too much in the way of the running power and the energy, because Wirtz will put a shift in for you too. McAllister, we know what he's all about. Gravenberch, likewise. The fall guy here is going to be Harvey Elliott, I think. I think he will be the one to suffer from the arrival of Wirtz. And again, I'm a big admirer of Harvey's, but I don't really see... It was one thing him sticking around for a place in the squads whilst it was just Dom Szoboszlai in his way. Put Dom Szoboszlai and Florian Wirtz in his way in the 10. He's just not going to do it. And Harvey Elliott is the type, and I don't really begrudge him and actually quite rate the fact he's the type of person, albeit a Liverpool fan, albeit a boiled red, wants to play. Like in my own sporting life, I want to play. If it means moving away from the club that I adore, or it means taking a step down, whatever, you've got to play. You've got what you're doing otherwise. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think he will maybe leave because of it, which is a shame. But ultimately, Liverpool need to get better. Liverpool can't stand still, and Florian Wirtz does both of them things.
I wonder why. It's the same with Kelleher. I've wondered it for years. I mean, now he's actually joined Brentford, of course. I wonder why. Like when you get a player who's a big fan, or such a big fan like Harvey is, you can't just keep doing loans. Like until there might be you just loan him out and let the team that loans him pay for his wages, right? They pay 100% of the wages. That's the loan condition. But I don't know why you actually. I mean, okay, if you get a transfer fee and it's a really good price, like everyone's got their price, whatever. But if someone offers like 30 million for Harvey Elliott, he's worth a lot more than that. And we could just keep loaning him out until the point where he either develops into a player that we can use or he doesn't. Like with Kelleher, the Kelleher comparison is with Alisson now. He's still amazing and he's likely to be amazing for another, let's say, 4 years. If we kept Kelleher for another 4 years, loaning him out each time, then Kelleher gets his first team experience, but then we know that Kelleher is going to be good enough when Alisson steps down. I don't know. Nigel, what do you think?
The one thing I'd say about that, I know Elliott is young and all that, and Kelleher is 26 and all that, but if you're going to keep loaning people out, it's a depreciating commodity. It's like a car. You give somebody a car, they put miles on it. You know, the price is going to go down a little bit, I think, if people get an experience and stuff like that, I agree with. But it's okay kind of with Elliott, he's young. But I think with Quavey and Kelleher, I don't think we could hold on to him much longer and hope to get any kind of big transfer fee at 26.
But you see, what I'm saying is we don't need to, because if he gets good enough, and I think he will, with regular first-team experience to take over from Alisson, then we've got someone who loves the club, and when they get into the Liverpool team, their value will go up again if they do well.
I'm a big big Keller fan, clearly we all are, because he's been outstanding whenever he's been called upon. He's been one of the greatest understudies number twos I've ever known in Liverpool. Liverpool's goalkeeper department has always been blessed since I was born, but it's been good at times. But in terms of, like say, number one choice and number two choice, this is the best we've had it for some time, I think it's fair to say. But the thing is, Liverpool clearly feel as though, whilst Kelleher is an outstanding goalkeeper, and maybe with all due respect to Brentford, the move to Brentford kind of tells us where he's at, because he is excellent. Let's get that out there early doors. But Alisson's the best in the world. Is Kelleher ever likely to be the best in the world to replace him? I don't think so, personally. Whereas Mamardashvili, the guy they're bringing in for Valencia, they clearly feel does have best in the world pedigree, best in the world quality. So I think keeping hold of Kelleher, just keeping loaning him, would have been unfair on him in many ways, actually. He's stuck around, he's been a brilliant servant. As I mentioned, he's come up big in big moments, won cups for us almost single-handedly along the way too. You mentioned the Real Madrid game earlier on, saves that Mbappe penalty. So yeah, at some point, I think the human side of it comes into it. It is business, and obviously money is a key commodity and a key reason why the football world turns around. But I think selling him was best for all parties at this juncture. Whilst for Harvey Elliott, it is slightly different. I could foresee a world whereby you did loan Harvey Elliott out for a season and see what that looks like. But again, you know, when you can recoup upwards of 50 million for somebody like him, and there will be suitors out there willing to pay it. He's English, he's homegrown, he's supremely talented, he's on the England radar, he's in the England system already. I think if a bid was to come along for something like the 50 to 60 million pound mark, Liverpool will be very inclined to sell.
I mean, it's all very interesting. We're all going to have our opinions on all of this, but I agree with you that Harvey is likely to be the fall guy for this Wirtz move if we do get it over the line. Going back to Redmen TV, Dan, for the people like me who listen to a lot of the content and really enjoy it, and also watch the YouTube stuff as well. How does it work behind the scenes at Redmen?
Usually just me running around like a lunatic trying to speak to people and sending a million DMs a day. Certainly when it comes to this time of year, transfer season, it literally is that at times. I'm trying to just fit and squeeze different interviews in at different times. But yeah, generally speaking, obviously, a lot of you will have seen the front of camera team, and we all sort of double up in various different guises and various different roles. Obviously, I do what I do in front of screen and do the interviews and all that sort of stuff, speak to former players, everything, do my own research, do my own agenda checking, do my own interview sort of subject finding as well, but also double up into the social media stuff here, do all that content as well. That's my main role away from content producing. Likewise, Steve is sort of operations. He deals with the day-to-day. Chris has got his finger in numerous different pies here. Paul, clearly being the face of it, is very much the face of it. Chloe doubles up and does some production as well. And then there's the out-and-out production team, of course, behind the scenes, who help to edit and produce the live content that we do. So yeah, a lot of it is us working extremely hard to make sure that we cover Liverpool from every possible angle. And that was a big thing, that was something I was very big on when I first started working here, really, because whilst obviously the first team is very much front and centre and very much the priority of everything that happens, I felt like there was more to it than that. And I felt like, you know, giving the academy and the women's team some airtime and some coverage was really important as well. Something I enjoy, something I'm passionate about. But I felt like that was one sort of, and a couple of untouched areas where nobody really discussed. And I think it made life easier, certainly in the early days of me being here, when Jurgen Klopp was tapping into the academy time and time again, and we had lads coming into cup games, and they were actually breaking their way into the first team and actual Premier League matches at times as well. It was nice to have that. They go and watch 18s and 21s. It was nice to have that background knowledge and that intimate knowledge of them as a player and a person on occasion as well. So yeah, that's kind of how it works here. But yeah, it's mostly me just desperately trying to speak to a range of different people.
No, but I really like that. I like the angle. You found some people, because I too. I mean, if there's something in a red shirt, then I'm going to watch them and cheer them on. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's the under fives. I'd probably watch that. But it's like, you know, I watch the under 18s and the 21s and the women's team when I can, and you know, as much as I can of the great club that we all love. And I really enjoy it when you're interviewing academy people, you know, former academy people and all that stuff. So, you know, it's great. Well done. Yeah, is there one? Are there one of those interviews from this season that you've really enjoyed, or someone who's like a little bit outside the box? Like if you're interviewing like an Eric Meyer, or you're interviewing Paul Glatzel, or someone who's in the periphery of the Liverpool consciousness.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and again, it's something I really enjoy doing. And again, I think Liverpool's covered so well now by a range of different podcasts. I think it's nice to find. Listen, there are some mainstream interviews that I've done and we've done that probably do sort of stand out from the rest. But I do quite like finding those different angles you touched upon. And whenever any new story breaks, Liverpool appointed like one of the data analysts earlier on this year, Laurie Shaw, and I found somebody who'd worked with him previously in that data world, and he was telling me that it's to sort of compare it relatively to normal football. It's like Erling Haaland deciding want to leave Man City and join Liverpool in that, I say, that data sphere. And that to me was everything, because whilst it's not necessarily my bag, it's a lot of people's bag. But the way he put it in football terms made it quite exciting to me, Liverpool doing that kind of gold standard business. So, like I say, I like to cover every single angle where possible. But in terms of interviews, I've mentioned a couple already along the way, but I think the one probably standout was pre-Carabao Cup final when I interviewed James McConnell down at the AXA. And it felt like it was literally, so we had our like pre-final content meeting here. And one of the first things I raised and wanted to do was speak to James. I watched him a lot at under-21 level, so I had that sort of prior knowledge of him. And obviously, we've seen him in the round first team squads on Premier League benches. He's made FA Cup appearances, so he's not unknown. But because of the story of the Carabao Cup final the year before, which was the kids, it was McConnell, it was Bobby Clark, it was Jada Dans, and certainly was Training, and all those lads were in the round it. I felt like it'd be good to get a taste and a flavour of that experience from the horse's mouth, if you like. And he'd been involved in the build-up to this one as well. It was against Newcastle. He's come from Sunderland, so it had lots of different links, lots of different angles. And again, it's great to interview Alexis McAllister, Harvey Elliott. We obviously interviewed Klopp before we left. That's all brilliant. But I quite like going a little bit beneath the surface and getting a different angle, and McConnell brought that. So, and he was great as well. Lovely kids, really, really nice lad, and spoke really well. Told me actually that, which I never knew, and the press officer who was with me on the day never knew either, that when he signed for Liverpool, he come down to do like his medical and have a look around the training ground, the facilities, and all that sort of stuff. And Liverpool, as part of their sort of pitch and their sale to him, to make sure he joined, they take young players to a match often. I assume they treat them well and look after them and all that sort of stuff. The match he went to was Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0. Now, if any match was going to convince you Liverpool might be the football club for you, it might just be that one. So yeah, that was an interesting little story. But yeah, that was good fun.
I mean, that's the thing with Wirtz and capitalizing on the fact that we are, there's so much. So much, I don't know, I hesitate to use the word, but so many vibes around Liverpool, the madness, I've only seen it from afar, but, the flares and the, greeting the bus against Spurs and the great parties that seem to have happened all around. And, let me just say that, of course, we are still thinking of the injured people and all the people who had psychological effects from that horrendous parade incident, but it's the parade itself and everything that goes on around the joy of and the communal celebration amongst Liverpool fans around the world. They had parades in Thailand, they had parades in Malaysia. I don't know if you saw any of those. Absolutely brilliant. Not the Man United one, but the Liverpool one. Liverpool fans on their buses, they had a big marching band, they had all kinds of things going on. It was absolutely wonderful. So that does help to sell the club. Nigel, the news from today, Lucho Diaz, David Ornstein put on Twitter, Liverpool have rebuffed Barcelona, who want to sign Luis Diaz, basically, and also Liverpool are unlikely to offer a new contract to Luis Diaz as well. So basically, Nigel, it looks like Liverpool are saying, well, you give us Saudi money or you can bugger off, and we're keeping Lucho for a couple of years. How do you feel about that, Nigel?
Yeah, I can see what they're doing. Maybe like come back next year at the end of his contract, and his monies might be slightly gone down. Like it's like Queven Keller transfer, a year left on the contract. You know, see what we can get out of him this year, and then maybe we'll offer him a contract next year. See if he's living up to it still. I'm just seeing a link here to a player from the French league, and I just want to see if I can get this right. A young guy who plays for Rennes, but is on loan to Amiens. 19 years old, Moroccan. Abdelhamid Boudlal.
No idea. I'm not a league.
A young central defender, very highly thought of, apparently, from what I'm seeing.
I mean, but you know how like it goes in generations where you look at, for example, I don't know, I'm not an England fan. I support Wales and Malta. They're my two national teams. So there you go. But if you look at the English national team, for example, they had, an embarrassment of riches in various positions over the years, you know, whether it was central midfield in the era of Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, if it was strikers in the era of Shearer and Sheringham and Les Ferdinand and Andy Cole and Ian Wright, all of those.
And other years, just an embarrassment.
Yes, very good, very good. But yeah, you know, France and defenders, this is like the era of the French defender. They've got tons of amazing defenders. Not too many great left backs, actually. But so I don't know. If he's young and French, I'm already interested because
Moroccan.
The skill level around here is absolutely nuts. I take my little boy to the playground every morning pretty much, and you know the little kids playing in the little playground, they're like, it's like watching Zidane and Vieira every morning, and they're only about 11 years old. Is that unbelievable? So I don't know, when I say French, okay, he's Moroccan, yeah, but in the French league and in the French system, I think I mean, I don't know anything about it.
An offer possibly gone in. Also, Newcastle looking at, apparently.
And what's the source of this rumor? Do you know?
Let me see. Where am I?
Well, you can have
Anfield, Anfield Index.
Anfield Index. Okay.
Yeah, they're on there.
Okay. Great.
Recruiting drive. Yeah, he looks 19 years old. You know, he'd expect a French central defender or a Moroccan central defender, big guy by the look of him, but apparently very highly thought of and played at the World Under-17s.
Okay.
Apparently.
Sounds exciting. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind. Remember, we got linked with Jimmy Traore when he was a young guy, and he came in and eventually, after a lot of trials and tribulation, ended up being the Champions League winner.
Exactly. All's well that ends well with the Jimmy Traore story. Absolutely. And who can forget his Cruyff flick into his own goal in the FA Cup? Unbelievable. What a brilliant.
I'll never forget it.
But okay. Well, I mean, but let's let's sort of end this conversation because we're going to have to chip off soon. Talking about what we want for the transfers and the windows. Of course, the rumours are flying everywhere. But let's say, for example, we get Wirtz over the line, we get Kerkez over the line. We've already got Frimpong. Who else do you want, Dan?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. And I was on the radio last night discussing exactly that, really, doing like a dream starting 11 for next season. And it is a new striker. It is a 9. That is the one missing piece, if you like, of that particular jigsaw. And I was quite dismissive of Darwin Núñez, maybe unfairly so. So I apologise, Darwin. But it's so inevitable that he will leave the football club in whatever guise that looks like, whether it be a Saudi move, whether it be Atletico Madrid have been interested recently, reportedly as well. I'm absolutely certain the writing is on the wall when it comes to his future. It just hasn't worked, ultimately, has it? He's given us some moments. We spoke about at the top about moments this season. Darwin Núñez against Brentford is in amongst that conversation. Obviously, he had Newcastle away last year, Nottingham Forest away last year. I was privileged to be at those. Wonderful scenes. But it just hasn't worked. He's not consistent enough. He's not at the level required. Diogo Jota has really struggled this season for me, whether it's one injury too many or what. Forever, I was so frustrated by him and his injuries, mainly because I knew how good he was. And I felt like if he just stayed fit, that would look unbelievable. Now, not only has he not stayed fit, but his form hasn't really been there either. It's kind of evaporated a bit. So, yeah, I think a 9 is a necessity, actually. I think I'll go one step further than that. I think it's really, really important, mainly because, again, come back to our earlier conversation, there aren't many positions Liverpool could really upgrade upon. I think left back's 1, Kerkez. We need the new right back, Frimpong. The 10, Wirtz as you upgrade. The 9 is the next and probably the most important one, I would say. So go and do some business there, because Arne Slot previously, whether it be a Feyenoord, Alkmaar, Cambuur previously, the goals have always come from the 9 and the 10. Now, Liverpool own Mohamed Salah, so that's never going to be the case. But he wants more from his 9 and his 10. I'm absolutely convinced of it. So Jota's not the answer. Darwin's going to leave. I like Jadon Danns a lot. He's too young, he's too raw, he's too inexperienced, nowhere near ready for that yet. He needs a loan. Hugo Ekitike is the name I keep falling down upon right now from Frankfurt. I like him a lot. There's a lot to like there. Isak would be ideal, feels unrealistic. Julian Alvarez, similar. Ekitike, Gyökeres, João Pedro. There are names. There are definitely names. But for me, as things stand right now, I'd be just about going for Ekitike. He's going to cost around £80 million. Bundesliga, Liverpool like the Bundesliga a lot. We're doing a lot of shopping in the Bundesliga right now. I think Liverpool and the football nerds, the laptop people, feel like it's quite comparable when it comes to that in the Premier League. So yeah, that would be my answer. But there's a long old summer to go yet, and I don't think, while Wirtz is going to happen in the next days, I would imagine, Kerkez likewise. The number 9, we might just have to wait for that next bit of transfer window before we address that. But I hope and I think we will address it.
I like Ekitike, and I like his technique, and I like a lot about him. But what I would, my only reservation is his lack of out and out pace. I mean, he's pacey, don't get me wrong, but let's say his lack of acceleration. He doesn't have a burst, which I think, this is why I would say, if you're going to spend £80 million on him, if you could, spend an extra 10 or 20 million on Barcola and keep Diaz as a 9, then I would be into that if we're going to, because I think I want electricity, electric pace.
Liverpool, we need to add dynamism. You only need to watch that PSG doubleheader that we played against them, and most certainly the final, to see that Liverpool, where we are lacking is pace. Because whilst we're a very, very good football team, there is just something missing compared to PSG, and it's that raw out and out pace. There's a little bit of maverick, there's a little bit off the cuff football as well that maybe PSG have over us. But yeah, we definitely need to add that. But I think Frimpong and Wirtz help. Ekitike, you might be right. I would still imagine he's livelier than Diogo Jota right now, personally, when it comes to that. I think Jota's definitely lost a yard in the past 12 months. Again, might be injury related now. Darwin Núñez, the one thing he did have in abundance was pace. It was just the end product that left so much to be desired, wasn't it, to be honest? So, yeah, you're right. And I think Chiesa might leave, personally, and therefore could you do something smart and replace him with that injection of pace and that injection of dynamism, potentially? Whilst I do think you still need to and should go and find your out and out, in inverted commas, number 9.
Okay. Nigel, what about you?
Well, I can't disagree with any of that about a number 9, but I would love a 6. I really would love a proper 6. I like, as well as Ryan Gravenberch has done. I've been going on about Ryan Gravenberch and how great he's been all season. But just someone like the guy who came on and turned the game for Portugal last night, Vitinha, at PSG, outstanding player. Someone like that, a natural 6. He is just such a good player. He really was. A Fabinho type, and maybe a centre half as well, just for a little bit of strengthening depth.
That for me is the number one concern. Because a great stat for you, next time you're speaking to the data nerds, you can tell them this Kop On exclusive, because it's like no one even noticed. Liverpool lost the duel count, right? If you count the duels in percentage in every single game, Liverpool lost the duel count. We had a lower percentage than our opposition in terms of duels won in, I think it was 15 of the last 16 matches in all competitions. We are rubbish at winning duels. This is number one concern for me. This is the thing that I think we need in our midfield, especially, is we need a ball buster, a Baleba ball buster, a ballet buster. That's who we need, in my opinion. Because up front, we've got an embarrassment of riches anyway. If we add Wirtz to that, I mean, it's like, and then a number 9. I mean, you're talking like potentially one of the best attacks in Premier League history or world football history. It could be, depends on who we buy. But this the ball buster is number one priority for me.
I just wonder whether both of those positions that Nigel touches upon there, centre half and the six, I wonder whether they're dependent on Wataru Endo and Joe Gomez and what they decide to do with those two and what they decide to do themselves. Because I think if Joe Gomez turns around and said he wants to leave, you probably almost certainly do need to go out and find a defender at that point. Maybe a versatile one, maybe just a centre back by trade. Same with Wataru Endo in a certain respect. I think if he decides that he wants to go and play more regularly and be a more prominent figure in a different team, you almost certainly need to go out and address that and sign a similar profile type player. I wonder, because there's so much business going on, we've already talked about Liverpool spending upwards of 150 million and the actual transfer window hasn't really opened yet anyway. I do wonder whether they will wait and address the six at some point further down the line. Carlos Balabi, you touched upon there. I really like Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace as well. I think he's a wonderful footballer. And I wonder whether Liverpool's stopgap and Liverpool's solution to that might be somebody, the forgotten man, if you like, a little bit, in Stefan Bajcetic, who came into a Liverpool team that was dysfunctional at the time and was unbelievable, let's be honest, against Manchester City, who were purring at the time as well, probably the best team in world football. And he was so good. Newcastle away, he was so good. He's fell off the radar because of injury problems. Mainly had a year of no football whatsoever. Went to Austria. I actually went to Austria to watch him and speak to Pep about him whilst he was over there, and didn't work. I think it's fair to say, much in the same way it didn't really work for Pep Landers either. Finished the season quite well in La Liga back in Spain at Las Palmas. And I think Liverpool will want to take a closer look at him in pre-season. In terms of talent, in terms of ability, he's got it. What's missing right now, I'm not quite sure, but I just think Liverpool might look at all the other areas that we've discussed and go, let's see what Bajcetic can do.
Go on, Nigel.
Just see something here on Twitter. Gyökeres representatives are demanding a weekly salary of £300,000 a week.
So that rules us out.
Yep, definitely, I'd say.
We should have been ruled out anyway. He's 27. Most of his goals have come for Coventry in the Championship, with all due respect. And then he's backed it up in the Premier Liga. Very, very good, clearly. I think there's a release clause there as well, so Liverpool have liked that. But for me, not the answer anyway, regardless of the way.
Well, that's all interesting stuff. I'm not convinced by Bajcetic at all, I'm afraid. I think since his injury, I mean, with ACLs, it goes one of two ways. It usually goes the unfortunate way, in that they're never the same player again. And I fear that Bajcetic has had that already in his career, where he's not going to be able to reach those levels that he was pre-injury. I think we overplayed him. I think it was a very rare, very poor bit of management from Jurgen Klopp and his team, because he was young and we overplayed him, and he had a big injury and he hasn't been the same since. And it's very sad. I want him to come back, and I want to be wrong, and I want him to be brilliant again. But I just can't see it, unfortunately. Anyway, we're gonna, I don't know, just end on a more positive note, that we're champions. We are all champions, and we're going to be champions for a long time. I hope that whoever you are, dear, sweet, adored listener, that you know that you are adored, as Nigel holds up his LFC Champions program from the final day of the season, which looks absolutely beautiful.
Thank you, Kev.
And I want to thank you all for listening, whoever you are, wherever you may be on this beautiful and utterly nuts planet upon which we reside. This has been Kop On Podcast, coming at you for free and ad-free. And thank you very much to Dan for joining us. Dan, is there anything else you would like to mention, or is there anything we haven't touched upon which you would like to touch?
No, honestly, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It really is an honour to talk about and to represent this club in any small way. Literally, as we've been talking, obviously, he caught me off guard with the favourite questions. I forgot I interviewed Kenny Dalglish like 2 weeks ago, which I probably should have remembered. But still, this is the life that I live now, seemingly, which is all very nuts, all very surreal. But it genuinely is it's a miracle, but it's a privilege that I do what I do for a living. So yeah, thank you so much for having me as well.
Well, there you go. And there's, you can say what you like about a monarchy, but there's a king we all believe in. Absolutely. Nigel, thank you for being a wonderful guest again. Is there anything you would like to mention that we haven't mentioned yet?
No. Well, yesterday, 2 years ago, I got to meet the king in Dublin. So it was my favourite ever player. Always will be. And yeah, I can understand exactly where Dan is coming from.
Fantastic. I mean, look at it. The videos are there on YouTube of some Dalglish fine moments. I might just do that for the next sort of 15 minutes or so until the boy wakes up screaming for some more Liverpool content, probably. So thank you very much to Dan. Thank you very much to Nigel. Thank you very much to the listener. This has been Cop On. You'll never walk alone. We shall see you soon.